This is my food waste bin. No smells, no flies, and no maggots. And this is the regular food waste caddy. Let's have a look inside, and bear in mind this is the best it's been in a while. Ooh, look, some solidified gunk. Same food scraps, two totally different outcomes. The difference? One is rotting, the other is fermenting. And today I'll show you why your bin doesn't have to stink ever again. Now here's what happens in the council system. The food scraps sit in the caddy for days, exposed to oxygen. Bacteria plus oxygen equals rotting. Rot means smell, flies, and lost nutrients. And no matter what liner you use, you still get bin juice. But there's such a simple solution, and it's called Bokashi. Instead of rotting your food waste, it ferments it. And let me show you how. Here we have our Bokashi bin. I pop the food waste in there. I sprinkle on some Bokashi flakes, and these are inoculated with all the beneficial microorganisms for fermentation. And I simply press it down and pop the lid on. No air means no rot, and instead we get anaerobic fermentation. And the result? No smells, no flies, and no maggots. And when Ridan, the supplier of our in-vessel compost units, came to visit our site, they said our composters were the best they'd ever smelt. And we even had a member come to visit, poke their nose in the compost unit and tell us it smelt delicious. Instead of getting an awful rotting stench, you get a lovely pickly, vinegary smell. However, here's where Bokashi really changes things. Firstly, behaviour. The standard food waste collection service is a very out of sight, out of mind operation. But with Generation Soil, we actively engage our 40+ members, which means we see far lower levels of contamination, and we've actually banned the use of single-use liners because a lot of them still do contain plastics, despite being labelled as 100% cornstarch or something like that. This means we get a much cleaner compost, and it's actually trusted by gardeners. Secondly, nutrients. So fermentation actually preserves the food waste. Think like kimchi or sauerkraut. But instead of using delicious edible food, you're using your food scraps. The nutrients are locked in and actually made more available to the microbes. So in short, rotting wastes nutrients, but fermentation preserves them. So when we add our fermented food scraps to a carbon source like wood shavings, the soil gets richer, more alive, and more nourishing. And here's what some of our members have said. The sealable containers are great. No smell, no maggots. Unlike the council brown bins. I wasn't really using the food waste bin before as I couldn't deal with the sludge and stink of it, but the Bokashi method is so easy to follow and it doesn't smell. And another member here says, there's weekly collections available, but the fermentation process doesn't smell at all, and as I'm only in a house of 2, it can take up to a month to fill up the provided bucket. It's a tiny shift in behaviour, but it really does make a massive difference. So, does your food waste have to smell? No. Do you have to deal with maggots, flies, and bin juice? No. With Bokashi, food waste becomes a resource and not a nuisance. At Generation Soil, we're building a network of people who are using Bokashi and turning their scraps into living soil, right here in Bristol. Wherever you are, please do have a look at Bokashi and give it a go. And if you're in Bristol and don't want to compost your own food waste, we can do it for you with our Bristol Living Compost project. Get a bucket, start fermenting, and see the difference for yourself.